Isang kotse ang bumundol sa grupo ng mga elementary students sa labas ng kanilang paaralan sa Changde, China.
Ating alamin kung sino ang salarin at ang kalagayan ng mga estudyante mula sa mga detalye ng mga balitang ibabahagi maya-maya. Magandang gabi, ako po si Ricky Matay.
Ako si Nina Richie Alagaw Flores, ito ang mata ng Agila International. Para naman sa mga headlines ngayong Martes ng gabi.
Pangulong Ferdinand Marcos Jr. at US President-elect Donald Trump nag-usap sa telepono.
Bagyong Ophel, Nika at Pepito nag-iwan ng 478 million pesos na halaga ng danyos.
US envoy nasa Beirut para talakayin ang truce draft sa pagitan ng Hezbollah at Israel.
Higit sa 200 unggoy inatake ang police station sa Thailand.
At ating alamin ang listahan ng mga nominado para sa The Game Awards 2024. Pinag-usapan ni President Ferdinand Marcos Jr. at US President-elect Donald Trump ang alyansa ng Pilipinas at ng Estados Unidos. Sa isang ambush interview matapos ang relief distribution sa Catanduanes, kinumpirma mismo ng Pangulo na nagkausap nga sila sa telepono ni President-elect Trump.
Sa palagay ni Marcos ay natuwa si Trump nang marinig ang congratulatory call ng Pilipinas. Tinawag pa ng Pangulong Marcos na very friendly and very productive ang naging pag-uusap nila ni President Trump. Bukod sa muling pinagtibay ng dalawang lider ang matagal ng relasyon ng Pilipinas at ng Estados Unidos, sinabi rin ni Marcos na bibisita siya sa White House sa sandaling umupo na roon si Trump.
Kaya't na-delay itong lakad nito is because I was able to schedule a phone call to President-elect Donald Trump. At nakausap ko siya kaninang umaga. At naaalala naman siya ang Pilipinas. Plano kong makipagkita sa kanya as soon as I can. Sabi niya siguro baka nasa White House na siya bago ako makapunta. But anyway, it was a very good call. It was a very friendly call, very productive. And I'm glad that I was able to do it. And I think that President-elect Trump was also happy to hear from the Philippines.
Gayunpaman, inamin ni Pangulong Marcos na hindi nila napag-usapan ni President-elect Trump ang issue ukol sa mga undocumented Filipinos sa Estados Unidos. Ngunit tiniyak ng Pangulo sa publiko na gumagawa na ng mga hakbang ang kanyang administrasyon upang matugunan ang nasabing issue. Anya, malaki ang ginampan ng papel ng mga Filipino-American sa US elections at ito ay isang bagay na maaaring magpalakas ng relasyon ng Pilipinas at ng Estados Unidos. Kumpiyansa si Marcos na hindi makakalimutan ni Trump ang mga Pilipino na bumoto sa kanya noong nakaraang eleksyon.
Express to him our continuing desire to strengthen that relationship between our two countries, which is a relationship that is as deep as can possibly be, because it has been for a very long time. And I also reminded the President-elect that ang mga Pilipino sa Amerika overwhelmingly binoto nila sa Trump. I'm sure maalala na yan pag tayo ay para magkita kami.
Ayon sa ulat ng London-based Capital Economics, maaaring maapektuhan na mas mahigpit na US immigration control ng Trump administration ang remittance flow sa Pilipinas. Ito ay dahil sa planong pagpapataw ng buwis sa mga remittances, isang hakbang na pupuwersa sa mga magpapadala ng pera mula sa US na mas gumastos pa. Batay sa estimates ng Capital Economics, nasa 1.5 hanggang 3.5% ang ambag ng remittances mula US sa paglago ng ekonomiya ng Pilipinas. Ibig pong sabihin yan, malaki ang ambag ng cash remittances sa Pilipinas sa consumer spending at domestic economy nito kung kaya mapanganib kung mababa babawasan ito dahil sa mass deportation ni US President-elect Donald Trump. Paliwanag din ng think tank, kapag mababa ang remittance flow ay bababa rin ang halaga ng Philippine peso.
Lumagda ang Pilipinas at ang Estados Unidos sa isang kasunduan na magpapalawig sa military information sharing ng dalawang bansa. Nilagdaan ni na US Defense Secretary Lloyd Austin III at Philippine counterpart nito na si Defense Secretary Gilberto Chodoro Jr. ang General Security of Military Information Agreement o GSOMIA. Layo ng kasunduan na i-activate ang real-time na palitan ng mga classified intelligence at information ng Pilipinas at Estados Unidos. Tinawag naman ng Department of National Defense na isang critical step ang nilagdaang kasunduan para mapalalim ang interoperability ng dalawang bansa. Higit pa rito ay pinangunahan din ng dalawang kalihim ang groundbreaking ceremony ng Combined Coordination Center o CCC sa Camp Aguinaldo. Kinilala naman ng US Embassy sa Manila ang CCC na isang simbolo na mas matatag na ironclad commitment ng US sa Pilipinas.
Pumalo na sa 478 million pesos ang naitalang danyo sa agrikultura at infrastruktura ng tatlong mapaminsalang bagyo na tumama sa Pilipinas. Batay sa situational report ng NDRRMC, nasa 469.8 million pesos ang danyos na iniwan ng bagyo Nika, Ophel at Pepito sa infrastruktura sa mga rehiyon ng Cagayan Valley, Central Luzon at Cordillera Region. Samantala, nasa 8.6 million pesos naman ang naging pinsala sa mga pananim, livestock at farm equipment. Apektado naman ang 1.8 milyong individual na mga nagdaang bagyo habang nasa 453,000 naman ang lumikas sa evacuation centers. Kasalukuyang 20 lugar ang isinailalim sa state of calamity. Kabilang po rito ang 11 lugar sa Cordillera Administrative Region habang 8 naman ang nasa state of calamity sa Cagayan Valley at isa sa Central Luzon. Ang mga lugar na dineklarang nasa state of calamity ay mas mabilis na makaka-access sa pondo ng gobyerno para sa naging pananalasa ng tatlong bagyo.
Inihayag ng Department of Health o DOH na nakahanda ito na magbigay ng medical assistance sa mga Pilipinong apektado ng bagyong Pepito, gayon din ang ipamahagi ang 15 milyong pisong halaga ng medical supplies sa mga ito. Ayon kay DOH spokesperson Assistant Secretary Albert Domingo, nag-deploy ang ahensya ng Philippine Emergency Medical Assistance Teams o PEMAT sa rehiyon ng Bicol, Ilocos at Cagayan. Ito ay para maghatid ng medical assistance sa mga residenteng kailangan ng medikal na atensyon. Nakabantay rin ang ahensya sa potensyal na sakit na kumalat sa mga evacuation centers. Ilan sa mga ito ay ang acute respiratory infections, acute gastroenteritis at iba pa. Paalala naman ng DOH sa publiko, lalo na sa mga residenteng nasa mga evacuation centers, tsaking malinis ang inuming tubig o kaya pakuluan ang tubig na iinumin kung hindi sigurado kung saan nagmula ito.
Kinumpirma ng Department of Foreign Affairs o DFA na pinag-uusapan na ng Pilipinas at Indonesia ang posibleng paglipat kay overseas Filipino worker Mary Jane Veloso sa kustodiya ng Pilipinas. Mahigit isang dekada nang nakakulong si Veloso sa Indonesia dahil po yan sa kasong drug trafficking. Depensa ng kampo ni Veloso, siya ay inosente at biktima lamang ng human trafficking, estafa at illegal recruitment. Paliwanag ng DFA, kung payagan na ng Indonesia si Veloso na bumalik sa Pilipinas, ay ipagpapatuloy niya rito ang paninilbihan sa sentensyang ipinataw sa kanya na naaayon sa mga kondisyon na ibibigay ng korte ng Indonesia. Umaasa ang DFA na magkakaroon ng isang matagumpay na resolusyon sa issue nang sa gayon ay makamit ni Veloso at ng pamilya niya ang hustisya.
Samantala nakumpiska ng pulisya ang halos 4 milyong pisong halaga ng iligal na droga at inaresto ang 76 na suspect sa Davao Region. Sa isang pahayag, iniulat ng Police Regional Office sa Davao ang tagumpay ng kanilang anti-drug operations mula Nobyembre 11 hanggang 17. Kabilang sa 76 na sospek ang 8 high-value targets. Kasama sa mga nakumpiskang iligal na droga, ang mahigit 400 gramo ng shabu at mahigit 100 gramo naman ng mga dahon ng marijuana.
Sinabi ni Defense Secretary Gilberto Chodoro Jr. na patuloy pa rin pinagbabawalan ng China ang Pilipinas sa karapatan nitong ma-access ang exclusive economic zone nito sa West Philippine Sea o WPS. Ayon kay Teodoro, it's the same story over and over again at lalo pang naging agresibo ang China sa pagbabawal nito na makapasok ang Pilipinas sa WPS. Anya, gumagamit ang China ng pseudo-military vessels na nagkukunwaring mga barko ng Coast Guard at maritime militia ships sa iba't ibang lugar ng WPS. Sinang-ayunan ni United States Defense Secretary Lloyd Austin III ang obserbasyon ni Secretary Teodoro. Paliwanag ni Austin, nakababahala ang ginagawa ng China para lamang matupad ang malawak nitong maritime claims sa WPS. Binigyan din ng opisyal na patuloy na makikipagtulungan ang Estados Unidos sa mga kaalyado upang makamit ang isang ligtas at bukas na Indo-Pacific region. Susunod, Putin inaprubahan na ang isang bagong nuclear doctrine.
Rape allegations laban sa isang Norwegian royalty.
At mga kaalyado ni Trump nagalit sa desisyon ni Biden ukol sa pag-atras na missile ban sa Ukraine. Mga detalye ng mga balita sa pagbabalik ng Mata ng Agila International.
Kinatulan ng Hong Kong High Court ang 45 pro-democracy activists ng hanggang 10 taong pagkakakulong ngayong Martes na umani ng kritisismo mula sa international community. Inakusahan ng mga prosecutors ang mga aktivista na nagtatangkang i-destabilisa ang gobyerno noong 2021. Kinundena ng ilang Western countries ang prosecution. Tinawag ito ng Estados Unidos na politically motivated at nanawagan na palayain ang mga Democrats. Ngunit iginiit ng mga gobyerno ng China at Hong Kong na ang national security laws ay mahalaga upang maibalik ang kaayusan matapos ang malawakang protesta noong 2019. Binigyan din pa ng Beijing na walang sino man ang pwedeng gumawa ng iligal na aktibidad sa ngalan ng demokrasya.
Itong Lunes ay sinimulan ang G20 Summit sa Brazil para talakayin ang malalaking problema sa mundo mula sa mga kabi-kabilang giyera katulad sa Ukraine at Gaza hanggang sa kooperasyon para sa climate change. Subalit, bakit nga ba inaabangan ng mga bansa ang ganitong uri ng pagpupulong? Ang Group of 20 po ay isang grupo ng bansa at region blocks na binubuo ng major economies. Kabilang dito ang Argentina, Australia, Brazil, Canada, China, France, Germany, India, Indonesia, Italy, Japan, Mexico, Republic of Korea, Russia, Saudi Arabia, South Korea, Turkey, United Kingdom, United States of America, ang African Union at ang European Union. Kung saan, batay sa datos ng World Bank, kung pagsasamahin ang ekonomiya ng mga nation members ng G20 ay aabot ito sa higit 85% ng kabuuang naaambag nito sa global economic output habang nasa 75% naman ang global exports ng mga ito. Taong 1999 nang inilunsad ang G20 matapos ang isinagawang forum ng mga finance ministers at central bank governor para sa naging Asian financial crisis at talakayin ang naging global economic at financial issues noong taong iyon. Mahalaga ang bahagi ng G20 Summit dahil dito rin nagaganap ang ibang pagpapalalim ng relasyon ng isang bansa sa kapwa-bansa mula sa sidelines ng naturang summit. Isa na po rito ang bilateral meeting ni British Prime Minister Keir Starmer at Chinese President Xi Jinping kung saan ay muling pinagtibay ng pagpupulong ang ugnayan ng UK at ng China. Ang G20 Summit din ay ipinahayag ng mga world leaders ang kanilang panawagan para sa isang comprehensive ceasefire sa Gaza at Lebanon, isang hakbang para pahupain ang tensyon sa lugar at mabigyan diin ang kailangan sa kooperasyon para masolusyonan ang problema sa kahirapan at taggutom. Bukas po ay ating tunghayan ang ibang detalye hinggil sa naging two-day G20 Summit sa Rio de Janeiro.
Nangako si US President Joe Biden ng $4 na bilyong na kontribusyon ng Amerika sa International Development Association Fund ng World Bank para sa mga mahihirap na bansa.
Now we need to make sure the World Bank can continue its work in the most vulnerable countries. I'm proud to announce the United States is pledging $4 billion over the next 3 years to the World Bank's International Development Association. As my friend Ajay tells you, the IDA is the first responder to the world's poorest countries. I encourage everyone around this table to increase their pledges in December. In addition, we have to mobilize private capital at scale. I'm proud of my country's work in this fund, including mobilizing $60 billion through the Partnership for Global Infrastructure and Investment.
Inanunsyo ni Biden ang 3-year US pledge na ito sa isang closed session ng Group of 20 Summit sa Rio de Janeiro kung saan ang US Treasury ang mangunguna sa mga negosasyon sa World Bank para sa fund replenishment. Ang bagong pledge na ito ng Amerika ay lampas sa $3.5 billion na nauna nang ipinangako ng US noong Disyembre 2021. Samantala, hindi naman malinaw sa ngayon kung kikilalanin ba ni US President-elect Donald Trump ang pangakong ito ni Biden. Maaalala kasi na una nang ipinanukala ni Trump ang pagtapyas ng foreign aid sa mga nakalipas na pagkakataon. Gayun din, hindi pa agad na maisasakatuparan ang paglalaan ng pondo ng US Congress para tustusan ang naturang commitment hanggang sa opisyal na maupo na si Trump sa Enero 2025.
This is my last G20 summit. We've made progress together, but I urge you to keep going. I'm sure you will, regardless of my urging or not. This group has within its power to usher in a new era of sustainable development, to go from billions to trillions in assistance of those who most in need. This all may sound lofty, but this group can lay the foundation to make that achievable. Thank you very much, and I look forward to the rest of our discussion.
Minarkahan ng Ukraine ang ika-1,000 araw ng pakikidagmaan nito sa Russia sa iba't ibang bahagi ng bansa. Bagamat inaprubahan ni US President Joe Biden ang paggamit ng Western missiles sa loob ng Russia, nagbabala ang mga eksperto na hindi ito sapat upang baguhin ang takbo ng digmaan. Libo-libong sibilyan na ang nasawi, daan-daang libong sundalo ang napatay o nasugatan at milyon-milyon ang naninirahan bilang mga refugee sa ibang bansa. Sa kabila nito, ang nalalapit na pagbabalik ni Donald Trump sa White House ay nagdulot ng tanong tungkol sa kinabukasan ng US military aid sa kanilang bansa at ang pagkakaisa ng Western countries laban sa Russia. Hindi pa alam ng mga opisyal ng Kyiv kung makakasama ba ang bagong presidente sa kanilang giyera, subalit umaasa pa rin sila sa pangako ni Trump na kaya niyang tapusin ang labanan sa lalong madaling panahon.
Inaprubahan ni Russian President Vladimir Putin ang isang updated nuclear doctrine bilang tugon sa pagpayag ni US President Joe Biden na gumamit ang Ukraine ng American long-range missiles sa loob ng Russia. Ayon sa updated doctrine, ang pag-atake gamit ang conventional missiles, drones o iba pang aircraft ay maituturing na banta na maaaring tugunan ng isang nuclear strike.
Речь там идет в том числе и о том, что Российская Федерация оставляет за собой право применить ядерное оружие в случае агрессии с применением обычного оружия против нее или Республики Беларусь, как государства-участника союзного государства, создающий критическую угрозу их суверенитету или территориальной целостности. Значит, агрессия против Российской Федерации со стороны любого неядерного государства с участием или при поддержке ядерного государства рассматривается как и совместное нападение.
Samantala, sinimulan na rin ng Russia ang mass production ng mga mobile bomb shelter na may proteksyon laban sa iba't ibang uri ng banta. Ayon sa Research Institute ng Emergency Ministry ng Russia, ang mga shelter na ito ay magbibigay ng proteksyon laban sa radiation, debris at sunog.
Arestado si Marius Boyg Hoyby, ang anak ni Norwegian Crown Princess Mette-Marit dahil sa isang rape allegation. Ayon sa mga otoridad, ni-rape umano ni Hoyby ang biktima nito habang wala itong malay o walang kakayahang kumilos para lumaban. Itinanggi naman ni Hoyby ang nasabing krimen at hindi rin naglabas ng anumang komento ang Royal Palace ng Norway. Sa Norway, pinapayagan ng isang preliminary charge bago magkaroon ng isang formal charge. Hindi naman sinabi ng pulisya kung kailan nangyari ang umano'y pangkagahasa, subalit patuloy naman ang kanilang investigasyon.
Sinabi ng Estados Unidos na lilinawin nito sa pamahalaan ng Turkiye na hindi na uubra ang business as usual sa Hamas. Ito ay matapos sa mga report na ilan sa mga pinuno ng militanteng grupo na nasa Qatar ay lumipat na sa Turkiye. Alamin natin ang karagdagang detalye mula kay Anna Cui.
Hindi kinumpirma ni State Department spokesperson Matthew Miller ang mga report ukol sa paglipat ng ilang Hamas leaders sa Turkey. Ngunit hindi rin niya ito pinabulaanan. Ani Miller, lilinawin nila sa bansang Turkey na hindi hahayaan ng US na magtuloy-tuloy ang operasyon ng Hamas.
I will let the various relevant governments speak to where they are. I know the government of Qatar has spoken to this to some extent. I've seen the reports that some of the leadership of Hamas who had been in Doha have now moved to Turkey. I'm not in a position to dispute those reports. What I would say on behalf of the United States is that we don't believe the leaders of a vicious terrorist organization should be living comfortably anywhere. I don't want to get ahead of things here. We've just seen the reporting in the last few days that they have moved to Turkey. But of course, we will make clear to the government of Turkey, as we have made clear to every country in the world, that there can be no more business as usual with Hamas.
Dagdag nito, ilang pinuno ng grupo ang nasa ilalim ng US indictment. Naniniwalaan niya ang Washington na dapat isuko ang mga ito sa Estados Unidos.
Hamas is a brutal terrorist organization that has murdered a number of Americans, continues to hold to this day 7 American citizens hostage, and of course, that's not even to speak of the citizens of other countries that it has murdered and that it has held hostage. So, to the extent that members of Hamas are in Turkey or in any country, look, a number of these individuals are under U.S. indictment, have been under U.S. indictment for some time, and we believe that they should be turned over to the United States.
Ana Cui para sa mata ng Agila International, trusted, connected, on point.
Nanawagan ang mga miyembro ng United Nations Security Council para sa isang malakihang tulong na aabot sa mga taga-Gaza. Nagbabala ang mga ito na ang sitwasyon ngayon doon ay lalong lumalala. Narito po ang report ni Myla Simbulan.
Pinanawagan ni British Foreign Secretary David Lammy na kailangan ng malakiang aid para sa Gaza kung saan 2.3 milyong katao ang inilikas. Ayon sa mga opisyal ng Palestinian Enclave, halos 44,000 Palestinians na ang namatay dahil sa opensiba ng Israel.
The situation is devastating and frankly beyond comprehension, and is getting worse, not better. Winter's here. Famine is imminent. And 400 days into this war, it is totally unacceptable that it's harder than ever to get aid into Gaza.
Samantala, sinabi naman ni U.S. Ambassador sa UN na si Linda Thomas-Greenfield na masinop na binabantayan ng Washington ang mga aksyon ng Israel upang mapabuti ang sitwasyon ng Palestinians.
Israel must also urgently take additional steps to alleviate the catastrophic humanitarian situation in Gaza. The United States has been specific about what exactly Israel must do to improve the situation for Palestinian civilians. We're closely tracking Israel's actions in this regard and engaging with its leaders every single day.
Inilarawan ni UN Special Coordinator for the Middle East Peace Process Tor Wennesland kung paanong mas sasama ang sitwasyon sa Gaza sa pagpasok ng taglamig. Anya, napakasama ng lagay ng teritoryo at tila hindi ito bobuti sa mga darating na araw.
The humanitarian situation in Gaza as winter begins is catastrophic, particularly developments in the north of Gaza with a large scale and near total displacement of the population and widespread destructions and clearing of land amidst what looks like a disturbing disregard for international humanitarian law. The current conditions are among the worst we have seen during the entire war and are not set to improve.
Nitong buwan, sinabi ng US na sa kasalukuyan, hindi naman hinaharangan ng Israel ang tulong papasok sa Gaza kung kaya't hindi ito lumalabag sa batas ng Amerika. Ito ay sa kabila ng pagsang-ayon ng US na karumal-dumal ang kalagayan sa teritoryo. Ang assessment na ito ay matapos magbigay ng listahan ng US ukol sa mga hakbang na dapat gawin ng Israel sa loob ng 30 araw. Ang mga hakbang na ito ay upang tugunan ang pangangailangan ng Palestinians kung hindi ay magkakaroon ng posibleng epekto sa US military aid sa Israel. Ani Thomas-Greenfield, kailangan makita ng Washington na tuparin ng Israel ang lahat ng hakbang na kailangan upang matiyak na makakapasok ng ligtas at maayos ang lahat ng aid trucks sa Gaza.
We need to see all steps fully implemented and sustained. And we need to see concrete improvement in the humanitarian situation on the ground. That includes Israel allowing commercial trucks to move into Gaza alongside humanitarian assistance. This is crucial to avoiding famine. We also need Israel to address persistent lawlessness so that the hundreds of trucks of aid arriving at crossing points into Gaza can reach people in need.
May nasimulan para sa mata ng Agila International, trusted, connected, on point.
Ikinadismaya ng United Nations ang naganap na looting o pagnanakaw po yan sa convoy ng mahigit 100 truck na pumasok sa Gaza. Ang nasabing convoy ay naglalaman ng mga pagkain na mula sa United Nations at World Food Program dahil sa hindi kabisado ang daan mula sa Karem Abu Salem na tumatawid sa Gaza. Git naman ng Israel na hindi nila makontrol ang mga tao, lalo na at ang mga ito ay labis na nagugutom. Magugunit ang ikinababahala ng UN ang pagdami ng mga nagugutom na mga mamamayan sa Gaza dahil sa pinaigting na military operations ng Israel doon. Nadagdagan pa ito sa pagbabawal ng Israel sa United Nations Relief and Works Agency for Palestine Refugees o UNRWA na magsagawa ng kanilang mga aktibidad sa teritoryo. Dumating na si U.S. Special Envoy Amos Hochstein sa Beirut, Lebanon ngayong Martes para sa mga usapin hinggil sa ceasefire sa pagitan ng Hezbollah at Israel. Bumisita si Hochstein para ipagpatuloy ang progreso sa pagtatapos ng all-out war na nagsimula noong huling bahagi ng Setyembre.
Well, the United States wants to end this conflict as soon as possible. That's what President Biden wants. That's what we all are working towards. And what I just said, what we're working with the government of Lebanon, the state of Lebanon, as well as the government of Israel, is to get to a formula that brings an end to this conflict once and for all, that puts the mechanisms in place that will enable this conflict to not just be over today and start again next week or next month or next year, but rather will be over, so that everybody can go home and know that we are on a new era of prosperity.
Kamakailan lang sumang-ayon na ang gobyerno ng Lebanon at mga lider ng Hezbollah sa isang truce proposal na isinumite noong nakaraang linggo. Ngunit sa kabila nito, hindi pa rin naglalabas ng opisyal na pahayag ang Israel tungkol sa nasabing proposal.
Ikinagalit ng mga kaalyado ni U.S. President-elect Donald Trump ang pagpayag ni U.S. President Joe Biden sa Ukraine na gamitin ang long-range missile sa pag-atake nito sa Russia. Bagamat hindi naman nagbigay ng komento mismo si Trump kaugnay sa naturang issue, matatanda ang isa sa nagpanalo sa kanya sa halalan ang kanyang ipinangakong wawakasan niya ang giyera. Ilan nga sa mga malapit kay Trump ang kumundena sa naturang hakbang ni Biden na tinawag nilang dangerous escalation. Isa na rito si Donald Trump Jr., ang panganay na anak ng US President-elect, kung saan inakusahan niya si Biden na tinatangka umanong matuloy ang World War III bago pa man makabalik sa kapangyarihan ang kanyang ama. Samantala, ang desisyon ni Biden ay hindi pa formal na kinukumpirma ng White House, bagamat una nang lumabas sa mga reports na kinumpirma ito ng US officials na pamilyar o may nalalaman sa naging desisyon ni Biden.
Halos 2 linggo matapos manalo ni President-elect Donald Trump sa eleksyon, nagtungo si Democratic Arizona Governor Katie Hobbs sa US-Mexico border. Doon sinabi nitong ang border security ay isang non-partisan issue. Narito ang karagdagang detalye mula kay Tony Rose Valenzuela.
Isa sa focus ng kampanya ni President-elect Donald Trump ang pagsukpo ng illegal immigration. Noong Lunes, pinuntahan ni Arizona Governor Katie Hobbs ang border ng US sa Mexico sa Nogales Port of Entry. Kasama nito ang isang delegasyon ng US border security officials. Sinabi ni Hobbs na ang pag-iingat sa border ay hindi issue sa pagitan ng mga partido. Ito anya ay sa pagitan ng Arizona at ng Amerika.
Protecting our border is not a Republican or Democratic issue. It is an Arizona and an American issue. And that's why I will work with anyone to secure our border. Just as I worked with this current administration to launch Task Force SAFE, I will work with the next one to deliver border security. That means more resources for the men and women standing with me today, upgraded equipment, additional personnel, the technology they need to keep Arizona and America safe. And I will be relentless in advocating for those resources from Congress and the White House.
Ang Task Force SAFE ay isang cross-departmental state at federal partnership na layong tugunan ang drug smuggling sa border. Ito ay bahagi ng Operation Secure na ipinakilala noong 1 taon. Inaasahang tututukan ni Trump ang illegal immigration at susubukan namang higpitan ang legal immigration pagbalik nito sa White House simula sa Enero 20. Ito ay bilang pagtupad ng kanyang mga ipinangako sa kampanya at sa mga naunsyaming trabaho nang siya ay presidente noong taong 2017 to 2021. Ani Hobbs, aabangan niya aling mga polisiya ang ipatutupad ng bagong administrasyon matapos manumpa ni Trump. Ipinangako ng Arizona Governor na mananagot siya sa Arizonans at makikipagtulungan anya sa White House kung kailangan. Tony Rose Valenzuela para sa Mata ng Agila International. Trusted, connected, on point.
Opisyal na ngang natiyak ni US Republicans ang tinatawag na trifecta of power. Maagang naipanalo ng GOP o Republican Party ang mayorya sa Senado. Samantala, nakuha na rin nila ang mayorya sa House of Representatives matapos itong manalo sa ilang key races. Alamin po natin kung ano ang isa sa unang ginawa ng mga bagong halal na miyembro ng Kongreso. Narito po si Bernhard Gonzaga.
Noong Biyernes, nagpalitrato ang mga bagong halal na opisyal ng United States House of Representatives. Pumwesto sila sa hagdan ng US Capitol. Kitang-kita ang ngiti ng mga ito na binubuo karamihan ng Republican Party matapos nilang masecure ang majority kapwa sa Senado at sa House of Representatives. Noong Miyerkules, sinabi ni Speaker Mike Johnson na handang mamuno ang Republicans.
We have a very well-designed playbook. We will begin to execute those plays with precision on day one. And so our new and incoming members, we're here for new member orientation. They were a part of all of this today. And we're preparing the players now to take that field beginning early in January when all this all begins again on January 3rd. So we will wrap up the work at the 118th. We will get that work done and we'll move into the new Congress with excitement and delivering on the promises that we have made to the American people. We're grateful to be working in hand with President Trump and to take this in.
Sinasabing ang Republican trifecta sa darating na taon ay magbibigay daan kay President-elect Donald Trump na itulak ang agresibong agenda ng tax cuts para sa mga negosyo, manggagawa at mga retirado. Ito ay paniniwalang susubok sa layunin ng partido na pagsupil sa $35 trillion na utang ng gobyerno. Bernhard Gonzaga para sa Mata ng Agila International. Trusted, connected, on point.
Binati ni U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken si Marco Rubio. Si Rubio ang pinili ni President-elect Donald Trump bilang Secretary of State sa bagong administrasyon. Alamin natin ang mga detalye mula kay Perla Rogacion.
Sa isang tawag sa telepono noong linggo, ipinangako niya ni State Secretary Antony Blinken kay Marco Rubio ang isang matagumpay na transisyon.
With respect to the official transition process, no, there's nothing that has changed. I'll let other agencies speak to the Memorandum of Understanding process. My understanding is that there has not been a signed Memorandum of Understanding, which is what has to take place before the incoming administration's transition team can come start work here, getting briefed and getting access to information to proceed in the transition process. That process has not changed. There has been an initial contact I can read out. The Secretary phoned Secretary-designate Marco Rubio yesterday to offer his congratulations on his appointment and to pledge to him, as we have said publicly, that we will do everything within our power to make it a successful transition.
Si 53-year-old Rubio ay masasabing pinaka-agresibong opsyon sa listahan ni Trump para sa State Secretary. Noong nakaraan, isinulong na ng senador ang makisig na foreign policy pagdating sa US geopolitical foes kasama na ang China, Iran at Cuba. Subalit nitong mga nakaraang taon, mas pinalamot nito ang kanyang mga posisyon upang umayon sa mga pananaw ni Trump. Inakusahan ng President-elect ang mga nakaraang Pangulo ng US ng pagdadala sa bansa sa magastos na mga giyera. Isinulong din nito ang tinatawag na less interventionist foreign policy o polisiyang hindi masyadong mapakialam. Pearl Rogacion para sa Mata ng Agila International. Trusted, connected, on point.
Samantala, samot-saring aktibidad ang naganap noong isang linggo sa iba't ibang bahagi ng bansang Canada. Ito po ay bilang pagkilala sa mga war veterans doon. Alamin natin ang mga detalye mula kay NET25 correspondent Sherry Recolizado.
Ngayong linggo, ginunita ng mga Canadians sa buong bansa ang Remembrance Day. Noong November 11, 1918, nilagdaan ng Allied Forces at ng mga German ang Peace Treaty upang wakasan ang World War I sa 11 oras ng 11 araw ng 11 buwan. Ipinag-utos na itigil ang mga pamamaril at ibinaba ng mga sundalo ang kanilang mga sandata na siyang sumagisag sa pagtatapos ng digmaan. Mga seremonya, sandaling katahimikan at mga parada ay ginanap sa Canada at sa iba't ibang bahagi ng mundo kabilang ang mga National Historical Sites ng Canada sa France at Cyprus. Isang CF-18 ang lumipad sa seremonya ng 2024 National Remembrance Day sa Ottawa. Ginugunita taon-taon ang Veterans Week sa Canada mula November 5 hanggang November 1, kabilang ang Indigenous Veterans Day tuwing November 8. Ang tema ng Veterans Week nitong taon ay Canadian Armed Forces Around the World. Sinabi ni Prime Minister Justin Trudeau na ang alaala ng katapangan at sakripisyo ng mga Canadian veterans ay patuloy na nabubuhay sa pamamagitan ng mga monumento, seremonya, kwento ng pagkamakabayan at mga paggunita. Cherry Recolisado, Toronto, Ontario, para sa mata ng Agila International. Trusted, connected, on point.
Susunod, 200 unggoy inatake ang isang police station sa Thailand.
Nominations sa The Game Awards 2024 inilabas na sa publiko.
At Gladiator 2 at Wicked palabas na ngayong Nobyembre. Detalye ng mga balitang yan sa pagbabalik ng Mata ng Agila International.
Siguro, na-love at first stone ako sa kanya. Ano bang itsura niya? Gwapo ba? Hindi ko alam. Wala pang nakakakita. Hindi siya nagpapakita eh.
Ang idol na voice actor ni Olivia,
Nakasubscribe si Changchang sa sa'yo, Olivia!
napansin siya online?
Changchang man, mahal kita.
Anong ibig sabihin nito? Love me, love my voice. Gabi-gabi, 8:30 p.m. on NET25.
Let's net together sa NET25. Sa NET25.
Magpahinga ka na muna.
Yung mga nasa paligid mo, sa huli, gusto ka rin nilang iwanan.
Wala na bang kinangang pagiging golden agent ni Jessica?
Wala nang agent ang gustong humawak sa'yo ngayon. Gumising ka nga.
Sandali. Gusto mo ba ng bagong identity? Sean?
Mukhang hopeless din ang bagong artist na napili niya.
Ang solusyon, suko na.
Seryoso ka ba? Ano ka ba? Niloloko mo naman ako eh.
At ano nga ba itong ginagawa nila?
Patay ang nasa 13 katao. Ito ay matapos gumuho ng 4 na palabag na gusali sa Tanzania. Ayon sa mga otoridad, patuloy ang kanilang ginagawang search and rescue para sa mga tao na naiwan pa sa loob. Dagdag pa nila ay nasa higit sa 80 katao ang nailigtas na sa gumuhong gusali kung saan ang ilan sa mga ito ay nagmamay-ari ng mga tindahan. Isinugod naman sa ospital ang nasa 20 katao na ngayon ay nagpapagaling matapos magtamo ng sugat mula sa insidente. Bukod rito ay pinag-utos din ng Pangulo ng Tanzania na si Samia Suluhu Hassan na imbestigahan at kumpiskahin ang permit ng gusaling gumuho. Anya, kailangan malaman kung may nagawang paglabag sa regulasyon at konstruksyon ng may-ari ng gusali.
Marami pong mga primary students sa Changde, China ang nasaktan sa naganap na car crash sa labas ng Yong'an Elementary School. Ayon sa ulat ng Chinese state media, hindi patukoy ang bilang ng mga nasaktan sa insidente, subalit makikita sa video kung gaano kalala ang naging pinsala sa lugar. Sinasabi ng mga nakasaksi sa insidenteng kararating pa lamang ng mga estudyante sa gate ng paaralan nang naganap ang insidente. Kaagad na dinala sa pagamutan ang mga biktima. Inaresto naman ang isang lalaking pinaniniwala ang suspect sa hit and run attack. Kumalat sa social media sa China ang footage sa car crash, subalit kaagad namang itong inalis dahil sa censorship ng China.
Sumugod ang nasa 200 mga unggoy at umatake sa estasyon ng pulis sa Thailand matapos makatakas ang mga ito sa kanilang mga hawla. Ayon sa lokal na ulat, nagtayo ng mga enclosures ang mga otoridad sa Lopburi para kontrolin ang tumataas na kaso ng karahasan dahil sa mga macaque monkeys. Ayon sa mga otoridad, nakaaapekto na ang patuloy na paglago ng bilang ng mga unggoy sa lugar na kung minsan pa ay nangaatake ng mga residente. Batay sa ulat ng Lopburi Police, karamihan sa mga unggoy ay umaakyat sa bubungan ng estasyon para lumambitin. Kasalukuyan namang binibitag ng mga operatiba sa lugar ang mga hayop gamit ang mga pagkain para mahuli ang mga ito.
Naayos na ang technical issue ng British Airways. Humingi rin po ng paumanhin ang kumpanya sa mga pasahero nitong na-delay ang flights at na-stranded sa airport. Tiniyak naman ng kumpanya na ang lahat ng kanilang pasahero ay nakauwi sa kani-kanilang mga destinasyon. Samantala, inamin ng British Airways na nagsimula ang technical issue noong Lunes alas 5 ng hapon. Hindi binanggit ng kumpanya kung ilang flights ang apektado. Subalit, ayon sa lokal na ulat, hindi lamang domestic flights ang naapektuhan ng technical issue kundi pati international flights ng British Airways.
Naglabas na ang The Game Awards ng listahan ng kanilang napiling nominado para sa 2024 edition ng kanilang parangal. Ilan sa mga game titles na napasama sa tanyag na Annual Game Awards ay ang latest game title ng Final Fantasy VII ng Square Enix at ng Astro Bot ng Team Asobi. Ayon sa Game Awards, kapwa ang dalawang game titles ay pasok sa 7 nominations, kabilang narito ang inaasam-asam na Game of the Year. Higit pa sa dalawang kilalang laro ay pasok sa 6 na nominasyon ang Metaphor Elefantasio ng Studio Zero. Pasok sa 5 nominasyon ang deck building game na Balatro na Local Thunk, habang ang hack and slash games na Black Myth, Wukong ng Game Science at ang Elden Ring Shadow of the Eld Tree ay parehas nakapasok sa 4 na categories. Inasahan na magiging kaabang-abang ang 2024 ceremony ng The Game Awards dahil sasapit ito sa ika-10 taong anibersaryo. Isasagawa ang awarding ceremony sa December 12 sa Peacock Theater sa Los Angeles.
Nakatakda pong maging host sa 2025 Oscar Awards ang American host at comedian na si Conan O'Brien. Bida sa mga katangian ni Conan bilang isang host ay ang pagiging witty, nakakatawa at charismatic mula sa kanyang mga live event at television hostings. Ayon sa CEO ng Oscars na si Bill Kramer, ay tiyak na magagampanan ni Conan ang event dahil sa malawak nitong karanasan sa usapin ng pelikula at live television. Dagdag pa rito ang hindi matatawarang humor at koneksyon nito sa mga manonood na siyang magbibigay ng sigla sa 2025 Oscar Awards. Nakilala naman si Conan mula sa kanyang late-night talk show na Late Night with Conan O'Brien at TBS Conan. Bukod po dito ay naging writer din siya sa Saturday Night Live at The Simpsons, habang kasalukuyan din siyang host sa podcast na Conan O'Brien Needs a Friend. Samantala, sinundan ni Conan bilang host ng awarding ceremony ang 2 taon at dating host na si Jimmy Kimmel.
Are you not entertained enough? Inilabas na po ang latest trailer ng inaabangang pelikula na Gladiator 2. Mapapanood ang Gladiator 2 sa November 22 mula sa direksyon ng director na si Ridley Scott. Bibida sa pelikula mga aktor na si Paul Mescal, Pedro Pascal, Joseph Quinn, Fred Hechinger, Lyra Raz at Derek Jacobi. Iikot ang kwento nito sa patuloy na digmaan para sa kapangyarihan, paghihiganti at mga sikreto na mula sa ancient Rome. Agaw pansin naman sa trailer ang ilang maaksyon na eksena at action stunts na isa sa mga dapat abangan ng mga manonood. Samantala, the popcorn is now ready para sa pelikulang Wicked ni Ariana Grande at Cynthia Erivo na nakatakdang ilabas naman sa November 22. Hango ang kwento ng pelikula mula sa mahiwagang kwento ng original na Oz story na isinulat ng manunulat na si Gregory Maguire. Tampok dito ang backstory ng karakter na si Alphaba na may natatanging kapangyarihan ngunit isinilang naman na may kulay berdeng balat. Kasunod nito ay pagtatagpo nila ng estudyante na si Galinda kung saan mabubuo ang matibay na pagkakaibigan ng dalawa. Ihanda na ang mga luha dahil iikot ang kwento sa halaga ng pagkakaibigan at sa labanan ng kabutihan at kasamaan para sa kapangyarihan.
And get ready, Blinks, dahil maglalabas ng panibagong single ang miyembro ng Blackpink na si Rosé. Inilabas ngayon ng Black Label ang isang teaser para sa pre-release single ni Rosé na may pamagat na #1 Girl. Nakatakdang ilabas ang #1 Girl sa November 22 bilang bahagi po ng kanyang kauna-unahang studio album na Rosé. Makikita naman sa kanyang Instagram post ang isang larawan na may caption na "This one's for my #1s". Bukod dito ay trending pa rin sa buong mundo ang collab song nila ni Bruno Mars na APT. Humakot ang nasabing kanta ng higit sa 6 na milyong streams dahilan para makuha nila ang pwesto sa global Spotify chart. Samantala, nakatakda namang ilabas ni Rosé ang kanyang buong solo studio album sa December 6. And travel is life. Yan po ang pinatunayan ng isang lalaki mula sa Egypt nang matapos niya ang 274 na paglalakbay sa Japan. Kinilala ang lalaking si Omar Nock na ngayon ay humakot ng higit sa 750,000 followers sa Instagram. Bida sa kanyang paglalakbay ang layo na 46,000 kilometro mula sa Egypt patungo sa Japan nang hindi sumasakay sa eroplano. Dagdag pa niya ay may mga nag-aalok sa kanya ng libreng sakay kung saan ay sumakay siya ng 1 beses sa camel, motorsiklo at 2 beses naman sa kabayo. Ibinahagi rin niya na ginamit niya ang kanyang savings para sa paglalakbay kung saan ay gumagastos siya ng $25 kada araw. Anya, hindi siya nakakaramdam ng takot at pangamba sa naging paglalakbay dahil na rin sa tulong ng kanyang natanggap mula sa mga taong nasa kanyang paligid.
Uy, girl power dahil kinikilala ngayon si Nicki Minaj bilang kauna-unahang babaeng rapper na nakakuha ng multiple Diamond certified singles. Tampok sa kanyang Diamond certification ang kanyang mega hit song na Starship na inilabas noong 2012. Iginawad sa kanya ng Recording Industry Association of America o RIAA ang pagkilalang ito matapos makapagtala ng higit sa 10 milyong units sa US. Kasama sa listahan ng kanyang Diamond certified singles ang mga kantang Super Bass at Bang Bang. Matatandaan na taong 2021 ang maging Diamond certified single ang Super Bass na naging trending sa buong mundo nang ilabas ito taong 2011. Kasunod nito ay nagpasalamat din siya sa lahat ng suporta at pagmamahal na ibinigay ng kanyang mga fans.
Ayan, isa yan sa mga paborito ng mga kabataan di ba?
Alam mo yan, dahil ang mga kids natin, syempre, nandun sila sa henerasyon na yan And it's good to hear na lately, napapansin mo, panay, ibinibida ang mga kababaihan. So nakakatuwa naman,
diba?
especially for you and me.
Ayan, ibig ko sabihin sa mga kabataan tayo, dahil paborito din natin.
Oo nga naman pala. Ano ba naman yan? Tama.
Pero sabi nga na, diba, good music knows no boundaries, knows no age, knows no generation.
Tama.
So talaga naman deserve talaga naman ni Nicki ang kanyang award na yan. Ayan, ito rin, susundan din tayo ng isa pang female who is empowered also in delivering the news.
Naman.
Dahil narito na siya, si Miss Alma Angeles. Pero tandaan na mula Lunes hanggang Biyernes, narito po kami ni Nina para maghatid ng balita saan mang dako ng mundo. Muli ako po, si Ricky Matay.
Ako si Nina Richie Alago Flores. Ito ang Mata ng Agila International. Para naman sa mga balitang nangyari po sa iba't ibang panig ng mundo, punta tayo kay Alma Angeles para sa Mata ng Agila World News. Take it away, Alma.
Thank you, Nina Enrique. Good evening, everyone. I'm Alma Angeles for NET25 World News. On tonight's headlines. 2 dead and 1 critically wounded in a series of random knife attacks across Manhattan today, leaving New York City on high alert.
It is a clear example of the criminal justice system, mental health system that continues to fail New Yorkers.
In China, multiple injuries reported after an SUV crashed into pedestrians outside a southern primary school amid rising concerns over recent violent incidents. Hong Kong's High Court has sentenced 45 pro-democracy activists of up to 10 years in prison in a controversial national security case drawing international criticism. President Putin has revised Russia's nuclear doctrine, allowing nuclear response to conventional attacks if backed by nuclear powers, a direct reaction to potential U.S. authorization of long-range missiles for Ukraine.
Any aggression from any non-nuclear state, but with the participation or with the support of a nuclear state, there is a suggestion to consider this kind of aggression is their joint aggression against the Russian Federation. We also clearly stipulate and describe the use of nuclear arms. We will consider this possibility.
And in Spain, the Iglesia Ni Cristo is distributing food aid through its Care for Humanity program, helping communities cope with rising food prices.
The Iglesia Ni Cristo, or Church of Christ, throughout Spain has once again taken significant steps to provide much-needed support in alleviating food insecurity through its Care for Humanity project.
And the news starts now. New York City is on edge after a series of knife attacks across Manhattan, leaving 2 men dead and a woman in critical condition. Security cameras captured a suspect who was seen handling a kitchen knife that police say he used to stab his victims. The suspect is now in police custody after a spree of violence, moving between locations and striking without warning. Officials identified the suspect as 51-year-old Ramon Rivera, who used the knives to stab 3 people in total, leaving 2 dead and 1 woman in critical conditions. The violence began around 8:20 a.m. on Manhattan's west side, where Rivera stabbed a 36-year-old construction worker.
Incident number 1 occurs in the confines of the 10th precinct today at 8:22 a.m. in front of 444 West 19th Street. Our victim is a male Hispanic, 36 years old. He's standing in front of a construction site where he is employed, when without warning, he is stabbed in the abdomen. The assault appears to be unprovoked at this time. The perpetrator fled southbound on 9th Avenue. Our victim was removed to Bellevue Hospital, where he was pronounced dead at 8:50 in the morning. Witnesses stated that the perpetrator was a male, light-skinned, in his 60s with a beard. He was wearing a gray shirt and a dark-colored ski hat. Witnesses described the knife as a kitchen knife. Approximately 2 hours later, incident number 2 occurs at 10:27 a.m. at 500 East 30th Street and the East River by the Old Water Club. A male, Asian, 68 years old, who was fishing at the time of the attack, was stabbed multiple times throughout the body. A 911 caller rings the bell and police respond to the location. Unfortunately, our victim is removed to Bellevue Hospital, where he's pronounced dead. 30 minutes later, after this incident, our 3rd and final attack occurs at 10:55 a.m. at 42nd Street and 1st Avenue, right by the UN. Our third victim is described as a female black, 36 years old. She is stabbed multiple times throughout her body. She is brought to Cornell Medical Center, where she is currently in critical condition. A short time later, at 46th Street and First Avenue, near the Turkish mission to the UN, police at the scene are alerted by a witness that a possible perpetrator who had just committed a robbery was walking in the area. This male was taken into custody by 17 Precinct Patrol. They recovered 2 large kitchen knives that are covered in blood. His clothing is also covered in blood. This person of interest was brought back to the 10th Precinct Station House for processing. He is a male Hispanic, 51 years old. He appears to be undomiciled. He has 8 prior arrests, last being for a grand larceny, October of this year.
And city officials say he also has a documented mental health history.
It is a clear example of the criminal justice system, mental health system that continues to fail New Yorkers. And it is troubling that we're standing here today in a day that brings a great level of difficulty and pain to the city.
In China, multiple injuries reported after an SUV crashed into pedestrians outside a southern primary school amid rising concerns over recent violent incidents.
A driver in an SUV ploughed into students and pedestrians outside a school in southern China on Tuesday. State media said the incident occurred in Changde City in Hunan province. Video shows a white SUV near a primary school with several people on the ground. A man is surrounded by a crowd and apparently beaten. It wasn't immediately clear what caused the crash or whether it was intentional. Reports said several were injured in the incident, though a detailed tally was not available. And it's frayed nerves in a country horrified by a spate of violent deaths. It comes just a week after a driver crashed his car into a crowd at a sports centre in Zhuhai in southern China. That was the deadliest mass attack in the country in a decade, killing 35 and severely injuring 43 more. Days later, a former student went on a stabbing rampage at a vocational college in the east of the country, killing 8. The incidents have spurred concern over whether rising social pressures are a factor and whether China has the mental health resources available to deal with it. There has also been anger over the government's apparent moves to limit reporting on what happened. In a social media post, one expert pointed to a common thread to recent events. He said they featured disadvantaged people who felt they had been unfairly treated and have no way to be heard. The post was soon removed by censors. Last week's car attack prompted President Xi Jinping to intervene, urging police to do better at identifying people at risk of lashing out.
Hong Kong's High Court sentenced 45 pro-democracy activists to prison terms of up to 10 years in a pivotal national security trial. The ruling has dealt a significant blow to the city's once vibrant democracy movement and sparked widespread international condemnation. Let's take a look.
Hong Kong's High Court on Tuesday sentenced 45 pro-democracy activists to up to 10 years in prison, following a landmark trial that hurt the city's democracy movement and drew global criticism. The charges were for holding an unofficial vote in 2020 to choose candidates for a legislative election. 47 pro-democracy activists were arrested and charged in 2021 under Beijing's national security law. Prosecutors accused the activists of conspiracy to commit subversion. One of them is former legal scholar Benny Tai. He was labeled an organizer of the arrested activists. 14 Democrats were found guilty in May, including Australian Gordon Ng and activist Owen Chow, while 2 were cleared. The other 31 pleaded guilty and have now been sentenced. In the early hours of Tuesday morning, supporters were waiting for the verdict outside the West Kowloon Magistrates Court. Police set up tight security as hundreds lined up with umbrellas in the light rain to get a seat in the main courtroom and overflow areas. The ruling, criticized for harming Hong Kong's reputation as a financial center, comes as the city hosts a business summit. But the Chinese and Hong Kong governments say the national security laws were needed after the 2019 pro-democracy protest and the activists were treated in accordance with local laws. Some Western governments have criticized the activists' treatment. with the U.S. calling it politically motivated. U.S. President-elect Donald Trump's nominee for Secretary of State, Marco Rubio, has strongly criticized the trial. In an open letter, he called the convictions of the Democrats proof of the national security law's attack on Hong Kong's freedoms and independence.
Gravely concerned by the use of these security laws and the breadth to criminalize conduct protected by human rights to freedom of expression, peaceful assembly, and association. Beyond the large numbers of accused directly impacted by criminal proceedings, these laws have major chilling effects on others in Hong Kong SAR, including the media, political dissidents, legislators, human rights defenders, lawyers, students, academia, bloggers, and artists.
Russian President Vladimir Putin today approved an updated nuclear doctrine, saying that Russia could consider using nuclear weapons if it was subject to a conventional missile assault on it, supported by a nuclear power. The decision to change Russia's official nuclear doctrine is the Kremlin's answer to a reported decision by the Biden administration to allow Ukraine to fire American long-range missiles deep into Russia. And the Kremlin called on Monday the reported decision by President Joe Biden's administration to allow Ukraine to fire American missiles deep into Russia reckless, and it warned that Moscow will respond. These weapons, known as ATACMS, have been in Ukraine's arsenal since last year. They can strike targets nearly 200 miles away, a capability Washington had previously restricted to prevent broader conflict. Kremlin spokesman Dmitry Peskov addressed media reports of this decision.
Weapon state with the participation or support of a nuclear weapon state is considered a joint attack. Aggression against the Russian Federation by any non-nuclear weapon state with the participation or support of a nuclear weapon state is considered a joint attack. Russia has always viewed nuclear weapons as a means of deterrence, the use of which is an extreme and forced measure. Russia has always taken a responsible position and made the necessary efforts to reduce the nuclear threat and prevent the exacerbation of international relations.
Very important.
While noting these reports were based on official statements, he referenced President Putin's earlier warnings about such a move. Putin's message has been unambiguous. Any U.S. approval for strikes on Russian soil would effectively mean America and Russia are, in his words, at war. The Russian leader has recently revised his country's nuclear doctrine, now classifying any conventional attack supported by a nuclear power as a potential joint strike.
The list of states and nuclear alliances regarding which we carry out nuclear deterrence has been expanded. The list of possible threats to use nuclear deterrence has also been expanded. Any aggression from any non-nuclear state, but with the participation or with the support of a nuclear state, there is a suggestion to consider this kind of aggression as their joint aggression against the Russian Federation. We also clearly stipulate and describe the use of nuclear arms. We will consider this possibility after we received proven information about the taking off of the means that could carry the nuclear weapons, which is cruise missiles, unmanned aerial vehicles, hypersonic and other aerial vehicles. And we reserve the right to use nuclear arms in case of the aggression against Russia and Belarus as a member state of the Union state.
On the ground, Russia is intensifying its offensive. Russian forces are now deploying modified Soviet-era glide bombs against Ukrainian cities. Just last month, one of these strikes devastated an entire residential neighborhood. Intelligence reports suggest Moscow may soon receive reinforcements, potentially more than 10,000 North Korean troops. And these forces could bolster Russia's renewed offensive in southern Ukraine, where Kyiv recently launched a bold incursion. The Kremlin's warning have been explicit. Russian officials are cautioning Western powers about testing the limits of what a nuclear-armed nation might tolerate. In late October, Putin announced his defense ministry was developing specific responses to any U.S. and NATO support for long-range missiles.
Now, as for the strikes on Russian territory, I don't know about that. When current General Secretary of NATO was Prime Minister of Norway, we dealt with a lot of important issues in the Barents Sea. We discussed it with him, and back then, when I spoke to him back then, he seemed a reasonable person, not suffering any dementia. And if he speaks about attacking Russian territory with these weapons, as a person who heads an important organization, a political organization, he is a civilian himself, and he must know that high precision weapons, these kinds of weapons cannot be used without satellite imaging first, without reconnaissance, and now then choosing the target and choosing the way it's used can only be done by highly trained professionals. The missions are designed by those who provide the weapons, so it can be done without any participation of the Ukrainian side itself, the Ukrainian army itself. Now, other missiles, other systems such as ATACMS are also used based on satellite reconnaissance. The mission is created, then it is calculated, and in fact, when it's being input into the missile, the person who's inputting it may even not know what the missile is going to do, but the mission that's being input is actually being prepared by NATO officials, by NATO military, not by Ukrainians. And so the NATO countries, especially in Europe, especially in smaller countries of Europe, they must realize what kind of game they're playing. Smaller countries with small territories and that have a lot of population, they must understand what they are, and they must take that factor into account before they speak about attacking Russian territory. Now, these are all serious matters, and we are addressing them. We are looking at them very patiently.
Meanwhile, in Kiev, there's growing concern about the future of U.S. support. Some Ukrainian officials privately worry about what a potential Donald Trump presidency might mean for their country, particularly whether it could force them into negotiations with Moscow. Russia has started mass-producing mobile bomb shelters designed to protect against a range of threats, from radiation to shockwaves and even natural disasters. According to the country's Emergency Ministries Research Institute, these shelters, known as KUBM, are built like reinforced shipping containers and can provide protection from radiation, shrapnel, debris, and fires. They can also be deployed in harsh environments like Russia's northern permafrost regions. Each standard shelter holds 54 people, but more can be added if needed. The timing of this production comes amid growing concerns over the war in Ukraine, which some officials believe is entering its most dangerous phase as Russia's forces make rapid advances. While the Institute didn't directly link the shelter production to any specific crisis, the announcement coincides with the U.S. decision to allow Ukraine to launch long-range missiles into Russian territory. In response, the Kremlin has warned that this move could escalate the situation, potentially drawing the U.S. further into the conflict. President Marcos Jr. visited Catanduanes to hand over more than 50 million pesos in government aid to communities affected by Super Typhoon Pepito.
Nakita po ninyo, meron dito ang IX payout. Ito naman po dahil ang mga iba't ibang pamilya ay may pangangailangan na hindi lamang food pack. Meron po kami mga sanitation, meron pa kami mga medical kit. Ngunit iba't ibang pamilya may pangangailangan na iba-iba. Kaya't meron din tayong binibigay na cash assistance. Itong cash assistance para magamit po ninyo na pambili. Kung may maliit kayong bata, pambili ng gatas.
At least 8 people were killed as Super Typhoon Mani or Pepito hit the Philippine archipelago over the weekend, unleashing fierce winds and strong rains that triggered landslides and storm surges. On Monday, residents found themselves cleaning up their properties and doing repairs as many of the homes suffered extensive damage. The local government has appealed for aid to help the affected residents rebuild their homes. Pepito or Manye is the sixth storm to hit the country in a span of 1 month. On average, about 20 tropical storms strike the Philippines each year, bringing heavy rains, strong winds, flooding, and landslides. Toxic smog blanketed New Delhi, pushing pollution levels in some areas to 50 times higher than the World Health Organization considers safe. In response, authorities scrambled to implement emergency measures. Water sprinklers were deployed to dampen the dust, schools were shut, construction came to a halt, and non-essential trucks were banned from entering the city. Residents most at risk, like children, seniors, and those with respiratory issues, were urged to stay indoors.
The one which we consider them as healthy, they are out earning their livelihood, so they are exposed to the polluted air for longer periods. We can confine the children and elderly individuals into the homes, but the bread earner of the family cannot stay inside house. So they are also getting affected because of the air pollution.
काफ़ी दिक्कत हो रही है, बहुत बीमारियां भी लग रही हैं लोगों को प्रदूषण की वजह से, तो वही प्रॉब्लम है, उसकी वजह से मास्क भी पहन के आने पड़ रहे हैं हमें, तो यही दिक्कत आ रही है, उसकी वजह से स्कूल भी बंद हो गए.
Airlines even warned of flight delays due to the poor visibility. With over 33 million living in the Delhi region, the forecast for the week doesn't offer much relief, as the air quality is expected to stay poor.
आने वाले दिनों की बात करें तो पंजाब हरियाणा में हमारा अनुमान है वेरी डेंस फॉग 5 दिन रहेगा. इसके साथ एनसीआर दिल्ली की बात करें, जहां भी हमारा यही अनुमान है मॉडरेट टू डेंस फॉग 3 से 4 दिन रहने का अनुमान है. उत्तर प्रदेश में भी 2-3 दिन रहेगा. उसके अलावा नॉर्थ राजस्थान में है, जहां नॉर्थ वेस्ट एमपी में भी आने वाले 2-3 दिनों में डेंस फॉग रहने का अनुमान है.
Winter often brings this pollution spike thanks to farmers burning crop waste. The cooler air traps the smoke close to the ground, mixing with emissions from industry and coal power. Sadly, more than 1 million deaths in India each year are linked to air pollution. And critics say it's time for long-term solutions, not just quick fixes. And the news continues here on NET25. We'll be right back.
This Sunday on Cine Throwback.
As long as I can remember, I've wanted to sing. And I got teased and bullied. It was a seemingly endless drama full of singing and violence. Kind of like an opera.
For me, you are not an opera singer, not yet, and maybe never.
I am only truly happy when I'm listening to or singing opera.
What is that?
Some talent competition.
What are you here for today, Paul?
To sing opera.
You gotta see this.
Ready when you are. You know what you were put on this earth to do. You have an actual talent for singing.
You can be very proud of yourself.
This Sunday, 12 noon, here on NET25.
Let's get together. NET25.
Donald Trump is gearing up for day one of his second term with a controversial plan to declare a national emergency and use U.S. military resources to launch what he calls the largest deportation program in American history. Military personnel already supporting efforts at the southern border could take on expanded roles under Trump's plan. However, current law restricts them from directly engaging in civilian law enforcement, like making arrests, a move that legal experts say would face immediate challenges. Declaring a national emergency would allow Trump to tap into additional funding and resources, including from the Pentagon, to implement his mass deportation initiative. Trump has already named his team to oversee immigration policy. South Dakota Governor Kristi Noem will head the Department of Homeland Security. Immigration hardliner Stephen Miller will serve as Deputy Chief of Staff for Policy, and former ICE Director Tom Homan will lead the deportation effort. According to Homan, the program will focus on targeted arrests, relying on detailed investigative work to identify and locate individuals. And to back his plan, Trump's team is exploring executive orders designed to withstand legal scrutiny, taking cues from the Supreme Court decision that upheld his travel ban during his first term. President-elect Donald Trump is making bold moves as he shapes his administration, selecting figures who align with his vision for energy and telecommunications. And his picks for the FCC and the Department of Energy signal a shift in policy direction that's already sparking debate. Take a look.
President-elect Donald Trump will tap Brendan Carr as chairman of the Federal Communications Commission. In a statement on Sunday, Trump said Carr was, quote, a warrior for free speech and has fought against the regulatory lawfare that has stifled Americans' freedoms and held back our economy. Carr is currently the top Republican on the FCC, the independent agency that regulates U.S. telecommunications. He is a strong critic of China and has been an advocate of the FCC's hardline on Chinese telecom companies like Huawei. Carr is also a critic of the Biden administration's telecom policies and big tech. Last week, he wrote to tech giants including Apple and Microsoft, saying they had taken steps to censor Americans. Carr said on Sunday the FCC must, quote, restore free speech rights for everyday Americans. Over the weekend, Trump also picked Chris Wright to lead the Department of Energy. Wright is the CEO of an oilfield services firm and a staunch defender of fossil fuel use. He is expected to support Trump's plan to maximize oil and gas production and to seek ways to boost electricity output amid a surge in energy demand for the first time in decades. He is also likely to share Trump's opposition to global cooperation on fighting climate change. Wright has called climate change activists alarmist and has likened efforts by Democrats to combat global warming to Soviet-style communism. In a video posted to social media last year, Wright said, quote, there is no climate crisis, and we're not in the midst of an energy transition either. If confirmed by the Senate, Wright will replace Jennifer Granholm, a supporter of electric vehicles and renewable energy sources.
In response to Spain's economic challenges, including rising food prices and inflation, the Iglesia Ni Cristo or Church of Christ is supporting communities through its Care for Humanity program. In partnership with the Felix Y. Manalo Foundation, the church has been distributing essential food packages in cities like Barcelona and Madrid, providing staples such as rice, pasta, and milk to families in need. Beverly Madrid reports.
The Iglesia Ni Cristo or Church of Christ throughout Spain has once again taken significant steps to provide much needed support in alleviating food insecurity through its Care for Humanity project. The Care for Humanity program of the Iglesia Ni Cristo, in partnership with Felix Y. Manalo Foundation, has taken place in cities such as Barcelona and Madrid, Spain. Essential food packages previously prepared by the volunteers of Barcelona have been handed out to people in need. These packages contain staples such as rice, pasta, cooking oil, milk, and other daily necessities that help recipients sustain their families.
I think this activity is very timely, especially nowadays. There are a lot of people who are going through difficult times. It's one of our ways to showing our love and concern to those who are in need. I felt very happy and honored being part of this activity because I was able to share this moment with my children. We were part of preparing the care packages. Here in Barcelona, it's a great help to the community, to our neighbors, and to our friends. And also, it's to show our love to our Executive Minister, Brother Eduardo V. Manalo. We love you very much, po, and we'll always participate and be united with the church administration.
Meanwhile, volunteers in Madrid prepared boxes of non-perishable food items that they have been collecting beforehand. The packages were destined to the Association for the Reception of Immigrants and Marginalized People, or ACOHEM, a non-profit association based on a humanitarian and solidarity spirit, which is constituted in the face of the problems of marginalized people.
El proyecto Care for Humanity o Muestra de Preocupación para la Humanidad
fue lanzado por la Administración de la Iglesia de Cristo para poder ayudar a los más necesitados, ya que desafortunadamente en la actualidad todavía hay muchas personas que sufren pobreza.
Solo en Madrid, más de 1 millón de personas viven con menos de 500 euros al mes. Por eso hay muchas familias en riesgo de inseguridad alimentaria, incluidas aquellas que se encuentran por debajo del umbral de pobreza.
Y gracias a este proyecto tenemos la oportunidad de poder ayudar a nuestros prójimos. Por eso durante varios días hemos estado reuniendo alimentos para poder donarlos hoy a un banco de alimentos y distribuirlos a las personas más necesitadas.
Spain, like many countries across Europe, has faced significant economic challenges in recent months. According to the latest data from Spain's National Statistics Institute, the inflation rate currently stands at 3.5% as of September 2024, down from earlier highs but still impacting households severely. One of the primary drivers of this inflation has been the sharp rise in food prices, with staple items such as bread, milk, and fresh produce increasing by an average of 10% year over year. Recipients were very delighted to receive the care packages produced by the Care for Humanity project. With smiles on their faces, the guests felt looked after, encouraged, and reminded that in times of need and turmoil, gestures of love and goodness can still cross the threshold.
Kami po ay taos-pusong nagpapasalamat sa ating pong tagapamahalang pangkalahatan dahil po sa mga ganitong aktibidad na kanilang inilulunsad na kung saan ay totoong nakatutulong sa marami po nating mga kababayan sa ating pong kapwa. Salamat po sa kapatid na Eduardo Manalo. Mahal na mahal po namin kayo.
In response to Spain's ongoing inflation crisis and food insecurity, the Iglesia Ni Cristo's Care for Humanity program continues its worldwide charity events to benefit many families struggling with hunger, giving them hope amid the country's economic challenges. From Spain, I'm Beverly Madrid for NET25 World News.
From the whole team of Matanang Agila, this is Alma Angeles reminding you that kindness knows no boundaries. Thank you for your company tonight, and I'll see you back tomorrow. Good night.